Good day, future educators. So, I am Vanessa Estoque, and today I am going to continue the discussion of our topic, which is Chapter 4, 1, Basic Laws and the Professionalization of Teaching. So, the objective of our topic is, at the end of this chapter, you are expected to first compare PD 1006 and Republic Act 7836 laws that professionalize teaching. Second, explain how the amendments in RA 9293 support the teaching profession. Third, have developed a deeper appreciation for professionalization of teaching and for the teaching profession itself. Fourth, have felt the impact of the professionalization of teaching on your future life as a full-fledged professional teacher. So this would be the coverage of my topic. We are now on Republic Act number 7836, Article 3, Section 25 until RA number 9293, Section 7. So I am the last reporter of our group, and the last report was on Section 24, which was reported by Ms. Istologa. So let's start. Article 3, Examination and Registration. So we are now on Section 25, which is Roster of Professional Teachers. So when we say roster, it means list of professional teachers. So that includes first, the names and address of professional teachers, the date of registration or issuance of certificate, and also the other data which in the opinion of the board may appear pertinent or relevant. So those will be maintained. Next is Section 26, Registration and Exemption. 2 years after the effectivity of this act, no person shall engage in teaching, whether in preschool, elementary, or secondary level. So they must not engage in teaching or act as professional teachers unless he is a duly registered professional teacher, a holder of a valid certificate of registration, valid professional license, and they must have special or temporary permit. Article 4, Provisions relative to the practice of the teaching profession. Section 27, Inhibition against the practice of teaching profession. Except as otherwise allowed under this Act, no person shall practice or offer to practice the teaching profession in the Philippines or be appointed as teacher without having a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional license from the Commission. Section 28, Penal Provisions. The following shall be punishable by a time of not less than 5,000 pesos nor more than 20,000 pesos, or imprisonment of not less than 6 months nor more than 5 months, both at the discretion of the court. So those will be the punishment or the penalty of the following. First, any person who practiced the teaching profession in the Philippines without having certified in accordance with the provision of this Act. B, any person who represents or attempts to use as his own certificate of registration that of another. C, any person who gives any false or fraudulent evidence of any kind to the board or any member thereof in obtaining a certificate of registration as teacher. D, any person who impersonates or pretends to deceive someone, impersonates any registrants of the same or different name. E, any person who uses a revoked or suspended certificate of registration. F, any person who in connection with his name otherwise assumes or advertise or uses any title or description tending to convey that he is a teacher without holding a valid certificate. G, any person who violates any of the provisions of this Act. Section 29, Appropriateness. Such sum as may be necessary to carry out the provisions of this Act shall be included in the 1996 General Appropriations Act. Section 30, Implementation Guidelines. The Board shall formulate and adopt the necessary guidelines for the effective implementation of the provisions of this Act within 60 days of its approval. Section 31, Transitory Provision. All incumbent teachers, incumbent means official, it's an official who holds an office. All incumbent teachers in both public and private sector, not otherwise certified as professional teachers by virtue of this Act, shall be given 5 years temporary certificates. Section 32, Separability Clause. If for any reasons any section or provisions of this Act or the application of such section is declared unconstitutional or invalid, no other section or provision of this Act shall be affected thereby. Section 33, Repealing Clause. All laws, presidential decrees, executive orders, rules, and regulations inconsistent with the provisions of this Act hereby repealed or modified or changed accordingly. Section 34, Effectivity Clause. This Act shall take effect after 15 days following its complete publication in the Official Gazette. So, this was approved on December 16, 1994. So, let's now move on Republic Act number 9293. So, it is an act amending certain sections of Republic Act number 7836 or RA number 7836, otherwise known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. Be it enacted or make a bill or law by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Section 1, Section 15, 3 of the Republic Act number 7836 is hereby amended as follows. So, amended means make minor changes in order to make it fairer, more accurate, or up to date, or in short, to make it better or improve. So, the following sections are amended. Section 15, Qualification Requirements of Applicants. So, no applicant shall be admitted to take the examination unless on the date of filing of the application. Section 2, Section 26 of the same Act is hereby amended as follows. Section 26, Registration and Exemption. No person shall engage in teaching and or act as a professional teacher as defined in this Act unless the person is a duly registered professional teacher, a holder of a valid certificate of registration, and a holder of a special temporary permit. So, those professional teachers also have not practiced their profession for the past 5 years shall take at least 12 units of education courses. So, that consists of at least 6 units of pedagogy and 6 units of content courses before they can be allowed to practice their profession in the country. And those who have failed the licensure examination for professional teachers with a rating of not lower than 5% points from the passing general average rating shall be eligible as para-teachers. So, para-teachers are educational assistant or teacher's aide or classroom assistant. So, they shall be assigned to areas where there is a shortage or absence of professional teacher. Section 3, Section 31 of the same Act is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 31, Transitory Provision. Special permits with a validity of 3 and 5 years issued to para-teachers by the Board for Professional Teachers before the effectivity of this Act shall be allowed to expire. based on the period granted therein. Section 4. References to the term. Department of Education, Culture, and Sports in Section 4A and Section 25, and the term DEX in Section 20 of the same Act are hereby amended to read as Department of Education and DepEd respectively. Section 5. Separability Clause. If for any reason, any section or provision of this Act or the application of such section or provision to any person or circumstances is declared unconstitutional or invalid, no other section or provision of this Act shall be affected thereby. So nothing will change. It will not be affected of whatever happens. Section 6. Repealing Clause. All clause, decrees, circulars, administrative orders, rules and regulations, and other issuance which are inconsistent with the provisions of this Act are hereby repealed and modified accordingly. Lastly, Section 7. Effectivity. This Act shall take effect upon approval. So this was approved by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, President of the Senate, Secretary General, House of Representatives, Secretary of the Senate, and by the President of the Philippines, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So that could be all, and I hope you learned something from my discussion, and feel free to ask questions if there is, and I will provide hard copy for you to read. And that's all. Thank you and God bless.